Okay, in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some homemade cider. It's very simple to do, won't take you long at all. All you need is some apple juice, which I've got here. You can use Brewers yeast or you can use baker's yeast, believe it or not. It's the same organism. That's the baker's yeast I got from Asda there. The thing about using baker's yeast is you probably won't get as high an alcohol content. I've just used this as the apple juice here. It's just 100% apple juice. Make sure when you're using your apple juice that it doesn't have any preservatives in it, okay? This one here just says 100% apple juice and antioxidant ascorbic acid, which is just vitamin C. That's not going to harm anything, okay? And next I'll be explaining how you go about making this. Alright, so what I've got here is I've got the apple juice in some boiling water. I've just got a bowl here, put some boiling water from the kettle in it, and I've put my apple juice in the boiling water. Okay, and the idea of this has just come out of the fridge. If I try to ferment this at the refrigeration temperature, absolutely nothing is going to happen. It's far too cold for the yeast to be activated and start fermenting. So by putting it in boiling water for about 10 minutes or so, I'll heat it up to a temperature which will be suitable for fermentation. And I'm just going to ferment this as it is. I'm not going to add any sugar to it or anything like that. If you add sugar to it, you can get a higher alcohol content, but I'm not really too fussed about that, to be honest with you there. Having done a hydrometer test on this before, I know that I can get about roughly about 4.5 to 5% out of this. Okay, and I'll explain that later on in the video as well. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do demonstrate a hydrometer test. Just this device here is a hydrometer. Okay, it's just got potential the readings that are on it can be translated into or converted into potential alcohol content readings. Okay, so this basically just measures the density of your liquid that you're trying to ferment. So what you do is you just pour a wee sample of whatever it is you're trying to ferment into something like this cylinder here, plastic measuring cylinder, and you just carefully drop in your hydrometer and just wait till it settles, and then have a look at the reading, and it's come up at about 1.040. So 1.040 on there, and if you look at an potential alcohol output chart from one of these, you'll see that works out to be about 5% or so, which is fine for cider. So I'm not going to add any extra sugar to it, and what I'll do is I'll just drink that. So don't bother pouring it back into the same container, because this is all sort of sterile, if you like, or it's quite, well, if you like, it's sanitised, you could say. And obviously, since I've poured it into there, I haven't bothered sterilising this jar, and I haven't bothered sterilising that either, because I'm not going to pour that back into that, so it shouldn't affect anything. And in the next part we'll go on to the actual fermentation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bit of this stuff here, which is a yeast nutrient. I don't necessarily know whether you have to add this. I picked it up for quite cheap, so all I'm going to do is add about maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon of that stuff to this. This is now been in the boiling water for about 10 minutes or so, so it's kind of heating up to a temperature which is not chilled anymore, so this should be fine to proceed with fermentation. Now, this is my teaspoon here, okay. You're advised to make sure that all the utensils that you use to put anything into there is, well, sterile to an extent. Okay, you'll never get it 100%, but It should not be dirty or anything like that. So what we'll do then is we'll unscrew the cap on here, place it here, and just get about 1/4 teaspoon of this stuff here, and we shall put it in just about that much there. I don't know if you can see that, it's not an awful lot. I'm not making a lot of this stuff, so it doesn't really matter, but just a wee bit of nutrient for the yeast there so that the fermentation can proceed at a decent pace. That'll provide, obviously, other than the sugar which the yeast will use as a food to convert into alcohol, that'll provide it with a source of nitrogen for like growth and things like that initially. So we should be able to get a decent rate of fermentation there. Like I say, I don't think it's strictly necessary. You can try it without it. Otherwise, there's other people that have used, and if you can't get hold of that stuff, you can use like raisins that you've boiled up and just poured the juice, a bit of raisin juice in there, or just pop in some raisins. I don't know. I haven't tried that, and I don't really want raisin flavour in my cider anyway, so I'm not going to bother with that. What you need to do now, once you've added that, is you need to shake this vigorously. Okay, and I'll come back when that's done. So shake it for about 2-3 minutes just to make sure that stuff's well mixed. Okay, that's been well shaken. Let's say you need to shake it vigorously, make sure the yeast's well incorporated, make sure it's well mixed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the airlock on top. So this device here is our airlock. Okay, what you do is you just put a wee bit of water, take that off, put a wee bit of water up to about that level there, pop that on there, obviously take the cap off and discard it, pop that on there and put the lid back on the airlock. And the purpose of the airlock is to enable the carbon dioxide gas that is released during the fermentation process to escape from the fermentation container or bottle of apple juice as we have here. Okay, so what I'll do is take this cap off, discard that, we'll put this on here, and you can see that obviously there's some bubbles starting to come. That's just because I'm pressing this onto the container here. Now what should happen if this works out properly, which it has done in the past, is that eventually this will start to bubble. It probably will take a wee bit of time for the yeast to get accustomed, like I say, to the apple juice environment there. Now, what I'll do is I'm just going to add a wee bit more water in here. I don't think I've added enough water to this airlock. Don't really add a huge amount to it. We just pour it down the side. Just top it up a wee bit more, that'll do. Put your lid back on your airlock, and that will start to bubble when the fermentation process starts. Now, out of my own personal experience, that's only a litre container, and there's probably been about 50-60 mils poured out of that when I was doing the hydrometer test. So less than a litre, that should probably only take a few days to ferment. I haven't added any extra sugar. I'm not looking for a massively high alcohol content. So what you do is you set this aside now in a warm place. If it's too cold, nothing will happen. The yeast will just go to sleep and nothing will happen. So after, I'm not really too sure how long this could take, but eventually you will start to see bubbles coming out of this. And if you don't, then it's not worked. What I'll do is I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like when the fermentation process has started. What I'm going to talk about now is just a wee bit about the kind of sterilisation of your utensils. It is really quite important. Might have made it sound like it's not really a big deal, but it is. If you get any contamination in this here, then it could have like serious consequences for your bowels if you try and drink it eventually. You'll end up introducing kind of all sorts of other bacteria in there which will spoil the fermentation process and could make you a wee bit ill. shall we say, to put it mildly. So you want to keep this as uncontaminated as you possibly can. Now, for that purpose, what I've done is I gave the surface of that cork there for the airlock a wipe over with some sanitary wipes or some kind of antibacterial wipes, and also wipe the spoon before putting in the yeast nutrient, and also wipe the spoon before putting in the yeast itself. For that purpose, I use these Dettol antibacterial wipes. Some people might choose to use a liquid steriliser. If you're going to do that, make sure that it's one that if you need to rinse it off, then make sure you rinse it off, otherwise it could affect the yeast, it could kill it off, you might not get any fermentation at all. If it's one that doesn't need rinsed off, don't bother. But what I done basically is just use these Dettol wipes here and just wiped over the surface of the cork for the airlock and the surface of the spoon. Just give it a wipe over before you put in your yeast nutrient, and also before you put in your yeast. And make sure, obviously when I used the measuring cylinder to do the hydrometer test, all I done was I poured some of the juice into that, and obviously try and not make contact with the cylinder when you're doing that. Try and pour it just a wee bit above if you're good at pouring, so that you don't make a mess. And that way you don't need to worry about sterilising the measuring cylinder, and you also don't need to worry about sterilising the hydrometer also. What to do is, obviously that's a hydrometer that I used there. Don't bother pouring the sample that you used from the measuring cylinder back into the container that you're going to do the fermentation from, which is this one here. I put this into some hot water, sort of warmish water, just so that that'll just get to a temperature where fermentation will just start a wee bit quicker. Like I say, don't pour, if you're going to do the hydrometer thing, don't pour the sample back in to that container there, because you could introduce bacteria and things like that unless you've sterilised that measuring cylinder first. But I just couldn't be bothered with that because it's too much hassle. So like I say, I'll let you know when that's actually started. Okay, here we are some time later. I can't remember exactly how long it's been, maybe about an hour or so. And you can see that there's quite a bit of froth start to form on the surface of the apple juice there. Oh, and there's just been a bubble there. Hold it on a bit longer and see if we can see another one. The bubbles do start to get more frequent as the yeast starts to sort of multiply and get established. Okay, there's another bubble. Okay, you get the point. Once that bubbling stops after a few days for something this size, about a litre, about 3-4 days, something like that, maybe not even that, then that'll be it, sorted, and then you can just drink it.